Good morning. Thank you for joining us today for the 29th meeting of the Lake County Board of Commissioners. Would all those who are willing and able please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Grant us, O Lord, light to our understanding, prudence in our investigating, foresight in our planning, sincerity in our deliberating, the grace to follow truth in our judgment. Help us to be moved in our decision, neither by fear nor by self-interest, and to do our work faithfully. May we respect the authority vested in us, for thou art the source of all authority, and may we use it in our directives for the common good and for thy honor and glory. Amen. Amen. Thank you all. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young. Here. Commissioner Plechnik.
Present.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Here. Thank you. We have before us the meeting minutes for the regular meetings of July 29, 2021, July 8, 2021, and July 15, 2021. We have a motion to approve, same waiving reading thereof.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes. Okay, this brings us to our first public comment portion. We have Lisa Miller here with the 4-H crew. We're going to start off with the fun stuff. So Lisa, please.
So good morning and thank you for having us today, Commissioners.
My name is Lisa Siciliano Miller, and I work for the Ohio State University Extension Office here in Lake County, here in the building. And one of the things that I am responsible is running our 4-H Youth Development Program. So after 2020, we had many struggles like everybody else, and we've hit the ground running here in 2021, and I'm here with my 4-H youth. And one of the things that we do for 4-H is we represent a lot of our projects at the fair. But what I want to say about our 4-H youth is that they're working on projects all year long. They are representing the 4-H's, which is our head, our heart, our health, and our hands. So they are doing things like service projects in the community. They are doing fundraising that support those service projects or some of their programs. Our slogan is to learn by doing. Our motto is to make the best better. Two great slogans. So they're gonna talk a little bit about their projects. And some of the things that they're doing at the fair. I always talk about the fair for 4-H as kind of like the Super Bowl for football or the World Series for baseball, because they will be displaying all of their projects at the fair, as well as doing competition for judging and things like that. So I'm going to refer to each one of them, and then if you have any questions, you can ask one of us or ask myself.
Fantastic. Thank you.
All right, and we're going to start with Rosie.
Come on up, Rosie. Oh my goodness, you're tall.
A little bit. There we go.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. No problem. So hi, I'm Rosie Bennett. This is my 6th year in 4-H. I'm a part of Giddy Up Whoa. I also do Junior Fair Board, and then I was a camp counselor this past summer. So this summer I'm bringing 2 pens of ducks to the fair, and then some of their names are Affleck and Otis. I just thought that was kind of funny. And so something that's kind of unique about our auction is that all of our animals are quality raised, and they have a lot of attention, and they're loved and walked their entire life, which is not like most meat you get at the stores. And then it also contains far less like preservatives, and it's just much healthy and better overall. So yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Well said. And I love saying giddy up whoa, by the way. That's
Hi, my name is Anna Demshaw. This is my 8th year in 4-H. This year I have 2 market steers named Preston and Brutus, 2 market lambs named Duke and Willie, 2 market hogs named Luna and Waylon, and a market goat named Asher. I am the president of Giddy Up Whoa and More 4-H Club. I'm the vice president of our exchange program. I'm the vice president of Junior Market Livestock, and I'm also involved in Junior Fair Board. I'm this year's Lake County Fair Queen. And then one thing about our fair is all projects are exhibited in our barns, and any non-4-H projects, like our FCS projects, are located in our new 4-H building.
So being Fair Queen, that's why you have the tiara and the sash?
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, my name is McKenna Sladke. I'm the Vice President of Equine Athletics, and I'm also a member of Wings and Things. This year at Fair, I'll be taking a market lamb and 2 equine projects. My market lamb's name is Larry, and he's being raised in a pen of 2 other lambs, kind of after the Three Stooges. And then my 2 equine projects' names are Winnie and Maverick. I was also a camp counselor this year, and I qualified for the state fair with my horse Winnie, and I'll also be taking a photography project to the state fair next Thursday. And then for the auction, just like a little thing, just so everybody knows, we take all oh my gosh, I can't talk. We take all types of payment, so credit card, cash, check, and hopefully we get a lot of youth out at the fair, because it's nice to inspire other youth to join 4-H just because of everything it's taught me and all the people that are here today. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Macy Ratchford. I have been in 4-H for 9 years now. Along those years, I am a part of Muddy Boots, where I'm their vice president. I'm a part of 4-H Exchange, where I'm their president. I'm a part of Junior Saddle Horse, where I'm their vice president, and a part of Wings and Things, being their treasurer. And I've also was a camp counselor this year, and I've also been a camp counselor for 2 years now. I'm bringing a horse project. Her name's Madison, and this is my first year doing market lambs, and his name's Mo. So Larry's a part of that. And then, so here I brought an example of our buyer's letter. It's really important that we get buyers for our market projects, because you don't want to be stuck without a buyer, and it's very important. So if any of you throw picnics or fundraisers, there's an opportunity to go to the fair and support our youth, because there's always some kids that aren't fortunate enough to promote, especially our younger kids, because they don't have rides everywhere. So please come support us at our 2021 Junior Market Livestock Auction.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Macy Ratchford. This is my 8th year in 4-H. I am taking an equine project that is named Pandora and a market lamb that is named Curly. And I am part of Muddy Boots and Wings and Things. I am treasurer of the Muddy Boots 4-H Club. And right now we are building a riding equine fundraiser for kids in Lake County that can't afford riding lessons. A big part about our fair is not only the auction, but we have Kids Day on Thursday, where you can bring your kids, and there's a bunch of fun things that you can bring your kids for under the grandstands. Thank you.
Exceptional. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Griffin Demshaw, and this is my 8th year in 4-H. I am part of Giddy Up Whoa. I am part of Junior Market Livestock, Junior Fair Board. I am also a camp counselor, and I am part of the 4-H Exchange. I will be doing market steers, market lambs, and a market goat this year. Their names are Boomer, Bandit, Hazard, and Cash. And one more thing, this year the Lake County 4-H Livestock Auction is Saturday, July 31st. It starts at 4 p.m., but you can come in early at 2 p.m. to register and talk to the 4-H youth.
Thank you.
And then I'd like to hand you these pieces of paper.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I'll give you a copy if you want to see a buyer's letter.
Sure. If you want to give that to Jennifer, she can make copies for all of us. Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? Well, I have to say, I have a professor to one side of me. I have a professional recruiter to the other. I'll let them speak for themselves, but your presentation, my goodness, if you're an example of the future, thank you. Well-spoken, on point, very convincing, and the passion really showed through. So, gentlemen, thoughts?
Well, first of all, I think it's important to read Head, Heart, Hands, Health, Learn by Doing, Lake County 4-H Livestock Auction. Lake County Fairgrounds, July 31st, 2 to 4 p.m. Come bid on chickens, ducks, turkeys, goats, lambs, hogs, and steers. So we thank you for coming to the Commissioners meeting to promote such a wonderful event for Lake County. We have a long tradition of farming, livestock, and agriculture in Northeast Ohio, and you are an important part of that tradition. You're its future. I can't say better than our president how impressed we are with all of you today. It's clear that 4-H does more than teach us about agriculture and farming. It teaches us about leadership in our community, because in so many of our communities, the Grangers, the Grange Association, really was the leadership group. And it's good to see that 4-H is filling that role today as part of the Lake County Fair. We talk about the future and our worry for it. Well, I see the future as very bright in Lake County. We, of course, bow to our queen, and we're looking forward to the festivities beginning end of the month. But I know that for you, this isn't just a few days. This is a year-round work where not only are you preparing your projects, but those of you who've been in the program for 6, 7, 8 years, I know you're mentoring the students who are coming up. So thank you for that role as a teacher. Let me say, as a professor, there is nothing more rewarding than bringing up someone after you, and I hope that you're having that experience.
Well said. Commissioner Young.
Yeah, I think you folks have chosen the right career. You know, farming is still the #1 industry.
Your microphone, sir.
Farming is
Thanks.
still the #1 industry in Ohio, and you are creating the future for that industry. You are the future for that industry, and I think you represented it well today. And as part of the future in that industry, I think your marketing is pretty impressive. Now, you're marketing your products already. Right now, you're marketing it to Lake County and to us, and you're doing a good job. I appreciate it. Are you gonna turn out prices on some of these items? Chicken per pound?
So it's an auction, so you bid on it, so.
Market price auction.
Yeah.
There you go.
So it'll be an auction?
Yes.
And who's going to be heading up the auction? Who's going to be handling the?
Well, we have auctioneer.
You have an auctioneer.
Yeah.
We have 4 auctioneers who help. It's actually, it probably goes on from like 4 to 9 or 10 o'clock at night. It's quite lengthy. So we have 4 auctioneers who kind of rotate.
Okay.
So yes.
How many animals do you think will be up for auction? Just a rough estimate.
There's probably between our poultry and our steers, probably over 200.
Okay.
So.
And these are animals that weren't just raised in a farm factory kind of a setting.
Yeah, no, they're either raised in the youth. Some of the youth have barns in their backyard,
Sure.
or they go to advisors or other family or friend members in the community where their animals are at, and then they're responsible for caring for them all year round. So they have to feed them in the morning, feed them at night. They have to show them, so they have to walk the animals, so the animals can perform well when they're being judged during fair. So that's what Rosie was speaking to, that these aren't just animals that are housed somewhere, but they're animals that are loved and cared for and have a very good life, before they're auctioned off.
All right, so these are happy, healthy,
Very
animals
happy and healthy animals.
that are ready to serve.
That's right.
Literally ready to serve. All right, well, thank you.
Again, thank you. Appreciate your time and your energy and enthusiasm. It's contagious, so hopefully you just set a tone for a very happy meeting. So thank you. You're also welcome to run before we get into the nuts and bolts stuff. Thank you so much for joining us today. And see how wise the youth of America is when they get a chance to find the exit?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. So when I look over to Jennifer and say, see, we could have had a pony today.
We could have.
So with that said, our public comments, we're still in the first public comment portion. Is there anyone wishing to address the board today? General, sir. Mr. Lima.
Good morning, Commissioners. Dave Lima, 7774 Litchfield Drive in Mentor. Recently, we were provided the timetable and milestones for the proposed jail project. From it, we surmise that it is the Commissioner's intention to proceed with this project, the construction of a new jail at a projected cost of $100 million, the largest capital project in the history of Lake County, without the consent of the people of Lake County. The timetable and milestones are as follows. June 2021, submit an SB 310 grant application. July 2021, finalize preferred project delivery method. August of 2021, finalize the finance package, internal funds, and note bond strategy. August 2021, issue a request for a quote for criteria architecture. September of 2021, finalize the architectural and design build team begin design. Fall of 2021, finalize site planning, including demolition of 2 county-owned buildings. And spring, summer of 2022, begin construction. Again, this timeline and milestones indicate the intention of this board to proceed without the consent of the Lake County taxpayers. We strongly believe and urge that this issue be put to a vote of the people. We believe you have a moral obligation to let the residents of Lake County, who will ultimately carry the financial burden for this project, decide. Put this issue on the ballot, make your case in the public arena. The public, we believe, has a right to have their voices heard on a project of such magnitude. Thank you.
Dave, you can stay there for a second. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm not aware of those milestones, and I'm not supportive of building a new jail at this point. I don't believe the board has agreed on any financial strategy to pay for it. I don't believe there's been any kind of an agreement on timing, even for a vote whether we're going to proceed or not. So I'm not sure. Who sent those to you?
We got it from Mr. Boyd.
I believe you're going to find that those were questions in the grant application for the $50 million. So that was standard responses to the standard questions on that grant application.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's not a commitment on the part of the board to build a new jail, what you're looking at.
I see.
Those are just procedural steps that to be taken to take a closer look at the potential for the project. When I say I'm not supportive of it, that means at this point I'm not supportive.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean it's impossible I would ever support building a new jail. So it shocked me that when you first started your presentation here.
Yeah, so
I see where you're at now. I think that's just a misinterpretation. And I can see why you might have interpreted it that way.
That's right, yes.
Okay.
And I was not aware that this was a requirement in the grant application. So it was proposed to the state that should grant monies be provided for the project, that this would be the timeline that would be used to expend those funds.
Maybe Jason.
If I may, Jason, did you want to comment? Keeping in mind that Lake County was one of the counties that provided data to the state, but also allowed the legislature to come up with the $50 million, and that's over 2 years, by the way.
Yeah, to Mr. Lima's questions, yeah, we, myself, Finance Director Maida, Sheriff Leon Bruno and his team, in an effort to find any and all dollars available, did submit a funding request pursuant to Senate Bill 310, which is $50 million, which, as we all know, throughout 88 counties isn't nearly enough. And as with any and all grant applications, they ask for a timeline. Should you receive the funds, what would a timeline look like? We are not locked into that timeline. It was a question that we had to answer every question, exhibits and so on, to be submitted to the Ohio Department of Corrections for the grant application. I think that's where the information came from. Any other questions for me?
Commissioner Pleshnik, Commissioner Young?
No. Well, I appreciate the clarification.
Oh, absolutely. No, and candidly, this is the venue to be asking these questions. It gives us an opportunity to have a fair debate on the subject. And this is part of that openness and transparency of letting the public see, witness, participate. So just, again, to be abundantly clear, thank you. This is good.
Okay.
So thank you. Okay. Anyone? I do want to make one clarification. You may have just misspoke. Criteria architect. That not architecture, or criteria architect. Just to be clear on that one point too. Okay, check that box off. Mr. Massey. Thank you, sir.
Brian Massey, 8196 Rainbow Drive in Concord. I've got a couple issues. I just want to make sure that the commissioners are aware of what we're working on. First one is, I don't mean to embarrass Commissioner Young, but I think he's doing a wonderful thing. He doesn't know I'm going to say this, but he will be speaking about the true meaning of freedom, and does government offer its citizens true freedom. He will be speaking at the Willow Hill Baptist Church August 1st at 10:45, and I look forward to being there. Thank you so much, Commissioner Young.
I appreciate that, Brian. Hey, what is the charge for that, Brian?
We do accept donations. The next item, I want to make sure that the commissioners are aware that I did speak to the young lady by the name of Morgan Beeching, who is with the Court of Claims. Subject is my complaint about the Visitors Bureau. As I mentioned, I did file with them, and they are going to take it to the next step of mediation. So I guess we passed the first hurdle. That will take place, as I understand, maybe a month from now or so. The next item has to do with, I want to thank Auditor Galloway and the Deputy Auditor Barb Hoja for cleaning up the account number 803. If you remember, we did some research on the $350 million that was invested by the county, and we did find that there were two accounts, one called surplus funds for, it was over $5.3 million, and those are funds that are held by the Treasurer's Office, and they represent real estate property taxes that are overpaid and belong to the taxpayers. Fund 803, that was held by the Auditor's Office, and they did clean that all up, and as I understand it, over $511,000 could not be given back to the taxpayers and has been transferred to the general fund. I have not heard from the Treasurer's Office yet, and I plan to stop by there today to see what they're doing, because the last thing that I heard with $5.3 million, that goes back to the 1980s, and basically they said they're short-staffed, they haven't have the ability to do it, and I'm just saying either it goes back to the taxpayers or it goes into the general fund for use for the people of Lake County. The third item was the $65 million that is held in cash reserves by the Deepwood Center. We did try to communicate with Deepwood, did not get, in my opinion, a satisfactory answer why they needed $65 million. As I understand it, there is a budget, I did request that the Budget Commission justify the reserves for $65 million, and there is going to be a meeting, a public meeting, August 2nd at the prosecutor's office, I assume, to discuss those items. Regarding the, I have been talking to Mr. Carl Dorndorfer, who is one of the trustees in Concord, regarding the need for additional sheriff representation. As I understand it, we have 7 deputies that are handling Concord Township, and I believe we probably need 7 or 8 more. The question is, how do we pay for it? I have been looking at the Ohio Revised Code, Section 31129, regarding contracts for police services, and for the average citizen, they just have one big long run-on sentence, so it's sometimes difficult to interpret. And I said to myself, this can't just be the very first time that this has been talked about or discussed. I'm sure over the years the availability of the sheriffs to handle the townships probably has been talked about. So I sent a records request to the prosecutor's office, and Mr. De Leon today just mentioned to me that he did get approval to provide me with any analysis and any reports that have come from the commissioner's office. So we'll be at least able to tell the citizens of Concord, if we want more law enforcement in Concord, we're going to have to pay for it. And then the decision is, do they want to pay for it? So, again, I just want to bring the commissioners up to speed on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Okay, anyone else in the audience wishing to address the board? Yes, sir. Mr. Music.
John Music, 45 Coventry Drive, Paynesville Township. I also have been to numerous meetings. On Tuesday I was at the Paynesville Township trustee, and I do agree with the township trustees. We do need additional deputies. Right now we have 6. The sheriff had mentioned probably the minimum would be 12. Ideally would be 24. And I've lived in Lake County my entire life, most of it, probably 80% of it in the township. And the thing about it is, in my opinion, in order to get some monies, I think all of our governments are getting too large and doing too much. We have wants and we have needs. We've got to concentrate more on our needs. And as far as I'm concerned, and I think I've talked about this at the last meeting, I pulled up some information, remember, about the Ohio handbook from Faber and Yost and so forth. And thing about it is, police and fire protection, in my opinion, are the 2 primary needs in a township. And roads are, and so forth, and drainage. But the thing's protection. And the thing about it is, in my opinion, we all need to spend our little money a little more wisely as server up to the public. And I think we could do better on that. I mean, like, everybody has wants and needs, but our needs got to take priority, as simple as that. And so I really would like to see this, like, as far as Paynesville Township goes, and like I said, I support adding those deputies. I mean, just like all of us. I mean, sadly, speed limits, stop signs, and all that stuff don't mean much anymore. Unless, like I read at the last meeting, the number of people driving over 100 miles an hour and 20 miles an hour over the speed limit and so forth. It's just getting to, like I said, I go for a walk every day. Stop signs mean nothing anymore to people. And what is causing all this? In my opinion is, just like anything else, there are consequences for breaking the law. Simple as that. I don't care if you get a warning or whatever may it be, because it'll never stop if there's consequences. Like I was reading a couple of weeks ago about, like in California, I think it was San Francisco. Well, if you shoplift less than $950, they're not going to prosecute you. Where does this end? And the thing about it is, speed limits is speed limits, stop signs is stop sign, and so it goes on and on. And in my opinion, lawlessness breeds more lawlessness, and if we don't stop it at the beginning, we're going to be in trouble. And the thing about it is, just like Paynesville Township, just like now, we have to sort of prioritize our dollars. As we all know, there's a lot of seniors here in Lake County. And the thing about it is, but me being a senior, hey, sheriff is a priority for me as far as adding more deputies. I agree with that 100%. We must do this. One way or another, we got to find the money. But the thing about it is, just looking at us, people in Paynesville Township, and we got the jail. Riverside would like to build a new high school and deputies, and maybe one of you three or anybody here could tell me, because I was looking at the number of continuous levies that are here in Lake County. And that was always a sad point. I mean, a while back, a group of us had a meeting with Ed Sapancic, the auditor, and we sat there and we went through all the different type of levies, the continuous, the emergency, the bond levies, and so forth and so forth. And I'm against continuous levies as far as I'm concerned. There is no oversight with them. I mean, they get the money and we never have to be accountable for what they do with it, in my opinion. So the thing about it is, just remember this. Any of you know how many continuous levies there are in Lake County? Or I should say, I guess I'd use a big scope, Lake County and individual municipalities. Do you know?
There are numerous. I would probably refer you to the county auditor to get you a specific number.
I called him, yes, sir.
And what did he tell you? Do you know? Can you share that?
I knew one of them was the library district, Morley Library, and so forth. And I saw it, but I'm not going to say, because I thought another Lake County entity had a continuous levy.
Oh, there's a few of them out
there.
Yeah, right?
And the thing about it is people, they're going to be there forever. Like the person from the auditor's office, she said, they're going to be here forever. And I looked at the process to get rid of them, and there is a political way to do so, by vote and so forth. But the thing about it is, we have to remember, these levies are there forever.
So did the auditor give you an answer as to how many?
No, I did not ask that at that time. I'm sorry. I was just talking about, because I want to make sure that when I talked about it, make sure that they were there forever. Because I read another article and it says, well, some continuous levies are only continuous for a term, And I thought, well, that's weird. I mean, you can get a regular levy for a term. Yeah, so who knows? But I'm just saying is that, in my opinion, I think we've got to concentrate on having smaller governments. And, I've gone to a lot of meetings since 2005, down in Columbus and DC and here and my township and Paynesville City Council, and I live in the city. And the thing about it is, it's like, I think we got to do a better job of spending taxpayer monies. And I've told you before, let's be good stewards of our taxpayer dollars. That's all I'm asking.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay, anyone else in the audience wishing to address the board? Jason, do we have any electronic submissions that you can share with us? And also just a reminder while Jason's walking up, if you do make a electronic submission, we ask that you provide a name and address, same as individuals presenting here in person. Thank you.
Correct, Jason. Commissioners. I have about 9 electronic submittals, 4 or 5 of which have the address, which I'll read into the record per your instructions. The other 4 I will submit to the clerk.
And they're all pretty much the same theme?
Same theme. So
if you just want to take one that's representative of block in the interest
of the ones that do not have an address?
Yeah, and I don't know that it's necessary to... Legal, do we need to be repetitive if they all pretty much have the same theme? It's pretty much the jail.
No, Commissioner. You control your meeting, so... as the board, you decide what and if and how to comment.
Thank you. If you just want to grab the top one there.
If they don't have an address or contact information other than the email they were sent from, that's the only contact you have on some of them, I take it, right?
Correct. I've got addresses and names, addresses for 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. 4 of the 9, 4 or 5 of the 9 have name, address, the whole 9 yards. Other ones are just an email address.
Okay. Yeah, I would say never. I would recommend you not read those in the future as well.
Yeah, at the discretion of the board, I'll follow that. So I'll begin with a couple that have names, address. So I'll begin from Patricia Denny, 7465 Mountain Quail Place, Concord. Begin, quote, "The more I learn about the commissioner's plans for a new jail, the more I find reasons for opposing it. I would like to submit today just one thought that makes me wonder why such grand and expensive plans are needed when a very long report by the county's Waste Management District says the Lake County's population is not projected to grow by any measurable amount over the next decade or more. Certainly, what we as citizens and taxpayers should be aiming for is to reduce the numbers of people who are incarcerated. That is something that is already being addressed with new bail reform efforts, among other things. I urge the commissioners to take this issue to a more formally informed public, end quote. A second one, signed by Maggie Barth, 5175 Unit A, Franklin Boulevard, Willoughby. This one is to the President. Dear Mr. Hammercheck, please let the voters of Lake County decide the issue of whether we need to build a new jail here. An expenditure of this must be considered and decided by the voters who must pay for it. Since it is the single largest capital project in the history of Lake County, it is only right that we, the people, make the call on this issue. I've got a couple more with signatures. Or
Hey, you're on a roll, but I think when we get to the point, though, if we get multiple submittals on the same point, I think you...
But one is a couple paragraphs, and one is a sentence. It'll take me two more. Barb, I'm sorry if I mispronounce this, Mullen, 7983 Independence Drive, Mentor, Ohio. Please get voter approval for building a new jail that will cost a huge $100 million, end quote. And the final one with a signature block submitted by John Dean, 503 Blair Place, Paynesville, Ohio. Begin quote, esteemed commissioners, I am writing to share my opinion that the $44 million for COVID relief fund should not be utilized to further the fungibility of the justice system by constructing a new county jail with an eye toward profit. I would not like to see the largest capital project in the history of Lake County, final estimated cost to the taxpayers, $100 to $150 million, to be something as regressive as a warehouse for human beings. Expansion from the current bed space of 350 to 526 is ill-conceived and unnecessary. The average jail population over the past 25 years has been 349. The motivation for the expansion appears to be to create profit, renting the additional bed space to neighboring communities. I find the act of profiting from the incarceration of human beings to be morally reprehensible and against the teachings of all major religions represented in our community. This level of investment could be utilized in so many positive ways. Connecting the Greenway Trail to the lake and along the shore, building microgrid and distributed energy technologies to power our homes and businesses, investing in workforce development programs that connect our school systems, teaching the needed trades and tech, certifications and skills necessary to join the local job market, the local industries, and build our community into the place we're all proud to call home. Given the level of investment being considered, I, as a Lake County resident and taxpayer, believe the decision to proceed with this project should not be left to our esteemed county commissioners, but should be placed before the taxpayer as a countywide referendum. I respectfully submit my opinion to the commission, end quote. That's the last one that I have with the signature block.
Thank you.
Sure.
I just want to give the others to the clerk for starting a file on this. That'd be great. And Sheriff Liam Bruno, did you want to comment, sir? And while the sheriff's on his way up, if I may take a swing at a couple things. That last comment, the $150 million, at no time in any discussion that I have been a party to has $150 million ever been discussed. And there has never, in my presence, been discussion of profit, having a jail for profit. That has absolutely never been a discussion point in my presence, and I know of no such conversation. Sheriff, to you, sir.
I just find it, since these are made in a public forum, I need to respond to them in a public forum. Not about whether we should vote on a jail project. That's certainly a decision between the commissioners and the residents as to that. However, in terms of jails and how we house inmates, I do need to respond to it because people are making comments about locking people in a cell and leaving them reprehensible, the housing of human beings against religion. The jail isn't made of cells with a bucket and a ladle for water. Russell Crowe did not film The Gladiator in our jail. Our jail is professionally run. We work very diligently with the Adams Board, with Beacon Health, with a number of groups as well as the Community Corrections Board, which is probation, which is the prosecutor's office, which is the commissioners, a large amount of individuals to make sure we treat people fairly and humanely when incarcerated. Statistics are given. There's a difference between statistics and informed statistics. So Mr. Dean says, the last 25 years, the average population is 349 inmates. That's a statistic. What's not informed is the amount of inmates housed in 1990 versus today has changed dramatically in two ways. In 1990, we housed 100 people a day from Lake County courts. And we house marshals in Cuyahoga County. Today we house 340 people a day from the Lake County courts. That's a huge change in the terms of the population. Our jail population has tripled. When somebody says our county population isn't growing, it certainly hasn't tripled in the past 25 years, but our jail population has, with significantly more offenders who are from violent crimes and gun crime today. Lastly, and I know Mr. Massey talked a little bit about it, somebody mentioned the Greenway. Invest in the Greenway, invest in our beaches and all the, you cannot enjoy the Greenway. You cannot enjoy the beaches in Lake County if people are not safe. I defend the Lake County courts. They have kept people out of jail. The predominant number of people are repeat offenders, probation violators who seem to keep going back out into our community reoffending. At some point, they need to go to court and we need to keep them off the street. Bail reform is happening in America, but I don't believe Lake County taxpayers believe in commit the crime today, get out an hour later, commit another crime, repeat the offense, go to jail, get out. There are people in our cities who are reoffending 4 and 5 times a day and being released from the same jail. That's not what Lake County offenders look at in terms of bail reform. They look at what Lake County courts are doing now. Keep people out of jail. We have, if you can't stay out of jail in Lake County, you want to be there, and we need to find a way to change your view and return you back to society better than when you first came. Thank you.
Well said. Thank you, sir. Jason, do we have any other submittals?
None.
Very good. And before we move on, just to circle back to our 4-H youth, again, we do have that auction coming up. I'm also proud to say that my family is also advertising on the square in Madison Village, some signage to make people aware. So this is a good opportunity to talk about that. And let's see, Jennifer, is there a possibility we might be able to put something on our website, kind of a little link there to help out?
Yes, I will do that today.
If there's no objection by my colleagues here? Thank you. Okay.
Mr. President, just to share a few of my thoughts in response to the public comment, because I think that the reason, or I should say one of the big reasons why people submit comment is they want to have feedback from the commissioners who've heard them out. Number one, with respect to the jail, I'm not aware of Lake County ever putting an issue on the ballot with respect to building or not building a building. I'm looking to our assistant prosecutor. Have we ever had a ballot issue along those lines?
Not in my recollection. The law, I believe, provides for a referendum, but I don't, in my 20 years here, I don't recall it being utilized.
So never in the history of the county have we put a building issue on the ballot, to your knowledge?
Not to my knowledge. The Board of Elections would be the appropriate place to seek that info.
I mean, the reality is, where you go to the ballot and where you see counties go to the ballot is when you're asking for a funding stream. You're saying we want to raise taxes. we want to raise sales taxes, property taxes. I don't. But that's where you realistically would invest the money in either a special election or updating ballots to add that issue. 99.99% of the time, the purpose of representative democracy is that we choose people who we trust to make these decisions. And we have our input in those choices. The reason the folks sitting at this table are here is either they were voted for or people who were elected appointed them. The voters have a say in everyone who's here, one way or the other. So I think it would be unfair to say that when the commissioners make a decision that that's independent of the voters. We need to be respectful of the people who stepped up to vote for Commissioner Young and Commissioner Hamercheck. I am the least among us as the appointee, but even my appointment was made by elected officials, each of whom represent one voting precinct, and their neighbors got to vote for them. So I do think it's really important that we drill back to the 101 of democracy, that voters make their decision in the United States by choosing the people they vest with authority to make those decisions for them. And if we forget that, we really forget what America is about. This is a representative democracy, and we have to be very serious. Elections matter. The person that you choose really does matter because they will be making big decisions. But by the same token, you don't get to ignore the will of the voters and say, well, I don't like the people who are sitting up there, so I want to get to vote on everything. I want to be able to overturn the will of the voter. I want to show respect to the will of the voter in that they've selected Commissioners Young and Commissioner Hamercheck, and it's my job to work with them as our elected representatives to try to put the will of the people forward. And a handful of folks who want to override that, I really want to show respect for the will of the voter first and foremost. Now, if there is a ballot issue for a tax increase, I will be voting no on it as a voter. But that's the appropriate time, in my view, where you do go to the people, because you're saying we want to ask for more resources. But when you're saying managing the budget day to day, if we just go ahead and say, okay, well, let's put everything on the ballot, that becomes a morass. And we could put every single issue. Do we hire this person, fire this person? But that's not the way representative democracy works. And I think it's an attempt to take away the will of the voters when you don't like a particular board or commission and say, well, I want to vote on everything. I mean, I get that. And I'm not saying that that's the motivation of each and every person who makes that suggestion, but out of the greatest respect for the voters, that they have chosen Mr. Young and Mr. Hamercheck, that's why I would say that saying let's go to direct ballot initiative on building projects, the two reasons you hire a county commissioner are buildings and budgets. And so those tough decisions have to fall on us. But that should happen with great input from the voters, and that's why we have these conversations and debates. Commissioner Young has said that at this moment in time, he's not supportive of a new jail. I would say at this moment in time, I very strongly am in support of a new jail. When I look at the alternatives, if we wait, let's say we did decide to do a ballot initiative for whatever reason, as we wait, as prices increase, as interest rates increase, regardless of what option we choose for the jail, whether it's a rebuild, a refit, a new jail, multiple new jails, take your pick. The prices will be higher. Mark my words. I got my job at Cleveland State writing an article on inflation. Mark my words. The prices will be higher 5 years from now to today, and anyone who wants to take that bet with me, you tell me, you want to bet $20, $50, $100? Well, this is a $100 million bet. And if it's $100 million to build a jail today, it will be $200 million to build a jail in a couple years. So I don't want to waste the taxpayers' money. I want to respect the process, the will of the voter who chose these fiduciaries to make difficult decisions. And I stand ready to make those difficult decisions with input from my neighbors, and I encourage more the merrier. I want to hear at every commissioner's meeting from anyone who wants to stand up and speak or share their comments electronically, because that's how we make the decision as a team, in the light of the public, with the public's input, but we can make that decision in a timely fashion so that we don't end up costing the county tens of millions of dollars that could go to workforce development, that could go to job and family services, that could go to rehabilitation. I don't want to be known as the commissioner who waited 2 or 3 years to address a bigger and bigger problem, cost the county $20 million in higher building costs, $20 million in higher interest, and $50 million in a lawsuit from an inmate who was mistreated because their facility wasn't up to par. And we can debate how we address the jail issue, and we will debate it, but we cannot pretend, and I really want to be clear, that we could leave the jail as is with no further investment and that would be a workable solution for Lake County. I think that there is widespread agreement, even as we have different approaches, that we can't just leave the jail as is with no further investment in it. There will be a major expenditure made, and we can't wait 5 years to make it. We can't wait for a ballot initiative. There are many systems in the jail, from the roof, which is leaking porously. I speak to people who are in the jail, who work at the jail on a weekly basis, and you have water falling on TVs and heads of inmates, and I have heard more than a few whispers of people who are interested in suing because they feel that they're not being cared for properly because of the building, not the extraordinary staff and deputies who are doing the hard work, but because of the building. And I don't want to be the commissioner who is responsible for letting this problem go longer than necessary and then cost the county tens of millions of dollars because someone is hurt, because someone is ill, because someone was mistreated. So we have to step up and make that decision. So I 100% support the sheriff's position. I 100% support our county local corrections board that has said that we need to build a new jail. That's the solution I think is most affordable, fiscally responsible, and will ultimately provide the best and most humane service to everyone who needs to stay in the jail. And I'm open to further debate. That's the job. But where I am today, just as Commissioner Young has shared where he's at today, is I support the sheriff's recommendation to build a new jail, and I believe that the longer we wait, the more risk we have of someone being mistreated, of someone bringing a lawsuit. And in the world of lawyers and lawsuits, $100 million sounds like a lot, but it would be very easy to sue Lake County for $100 million if someone loses their life. And even if you settle for $30 million, $20 million, think about the cost proactively. So I think we need to step up and take responsibility. We had a Paynesville Township resident speak about the need for more deputies. Our sheriff works very hard to make recommendations to the townships, just as he makes recommendations to the commissioners about the county's needs. We're responsible for providing a jail. The townships are responsible for providing policing. Just like every municipality, whether you're the city of Willowick, the Township of Concord, we all have a responsibility to provide for our own policing. It would be absurd to say that people in Willoughby should pay for people in Perry Township, or people in Paynesville Township should pay for my police in Willoughby Hills. So we're all responsible for our own policing. And that's certainly the case under the law as well. These cases have been resolved in the 11th District, the Ohio Supreme Court, as townships have asked, are we entitled to free patrol from the county sheriff? That is certainly not the case. I wish that there was a world of unlimited resources, but every community has to come up with its own policing. When I was a councilman for Willoughby Hills, I had this difficult decision in front of me. We had our chief say, staff is too low, it's a matter of safety. Our fire chief even said it's a matter of life and death. Someone will die if you don't increase staffing in the near future. And do you raise taxes? Do you cut spending? These are not popular decisions, regardless of what mix you choose. As a councilman, I cut spending and administrative overhead. It was controversial, it was difficult, but we had the first staffing increase in the police and fire departments in 28 years, and we kept our people safe. I don't envy the job because I've had it. It's a hard one. But just as the commissioners are tasked with dealing with the issue of the jail and how we provide for the county's needs there, the township trustees have a very difficult job too. They need to provide for their policing. And that's why I'm so proud and grateful of our clerk of court's office for making available to the townships a grant program that builds a bridge for them over a period of 4 years, where they will get a matching deputy for 4 years for every deputy they add up to 3. And that is an extraordinary opportunity to take time to work with their constituents, their residents, to find a way for long-term financing of their policing needs. But I really want to say thank you to our Clerk of Courts, Faith Andrews, for running her budget so well that she can return money to the county that allow us to support our townships in an extraordinary way and follow our sheriff's recommendation. Because I 100% support our sheriff, and when he makes a recommendation to me, I take it very, very, very seriously. And I think that everyone from township trustee to county commissioner should look at our chief law enforcement officer and trust his judgment. When he comes to you and says this is a matter of safety, you need to take it seriously. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Young?
Thank you. I don't want to spend every commissioners meeting reviewing every item of my position on the jail or Commissioner Hammercheck's or Fleshnick's. But I do want to say that just to simply say I'm opposed to building a new jail may be overly simplistic. That's not really true. I'm at this point not supportive of building a new jail. And the reason for that is not that I don't respect the sheriff's recommendation. The reason for that is simply that we can't afford it. It's not in our budget. Now, if we increase property taxes, then it would be affordable. But I don't want to increase property taxes. So at this point in time, as our distinguished financial director, Mike Matus, stated just last week before this body, we don't have the money without a tax increase to spend $100 million or even $50 million at this point on the building or refurbishing of a jail. So my position right now at this point in time is we can't build it. And I think before we really push forward and just keep belaboring the point, we need to take a serious look at how we're going to fund this thing if we're going to seriously consider this project. The hard decisions have to be made. That is the hard decision. How will we afford this? All of us agree with the sheriff's position. All of us agree that a new jail would be fantastic. And probably at some point in the near future, if not right now, should be built. But right now, we ain't got the money. So we're just going to have to figure out how we're going to fund this thing, if indeed we're going to do it at this point in time. So that's my position.
Thank you, sir. Okay, I'm guessing that's everything. Any other, Jason? I might as well keep looking back to you here. Did we get any more submissions, electronic?
We did not.
Indicating?
One just, nope.
None? Okay, very good. Okay, we'll have another bite at the apple at the end of the meeting. With that, Madam Clerk, we'll move on to the resolutions.
In the engineer's office, resolution authorizing the Lake County engineer to enter into a local public agent LPA agreement with the Director of Transportation of the State of Ohio for the LAK Chestnut Street County Road 329 resurfacing project PID number 112483.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
In the Utilities Department, resolution increasing appropriations and transferring cash within Lake County Department of Utilities Sewer Project Fund 596, Project 453S Mentor Wastewater Treatment Plant Operations Building Roof Replacement.
So moved.
Second. Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution increasing appropriations and transferring cash within Lake County Department of Utilities Water Operating Fund and Project Fund 595, East Island Waterline Improvement Project 450W, a joint project with the City of Eastlake.
Move to approve.
Second.
And discussion. Gary, you want to give us anything? We also have the Mayor of Eastlake with us here today. I don't know if you want to add anything, sir.
Well, if we ever get to second comments, I was going to do that, but I can come up.
If you don't mind, sir. Thank you. Gary, did you want to chime in or wait for the mayor there? Or?
I'll let the mayor go first, and I'll go
He's
second.
kind of got rank here, so.
Yes.
Not really, but.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Mayor Dennis Morley, City of Eastlake. Been working with Randy Roethlisberger on utilities possibly last couple of years. Now that East Island is getting a little more developed, our fire marshal was concerned that the water line was too small and wouldn't help with all the economic development we're doing down there. Had a meeting with Randy and the group down at end. The city agreed to pay for the engineering. The county would end up bidding or would end up doing the work and paying for that. So we came up with a memorandum of understanding beside myself and utilities, and as you guys have passed before, to agree to get this done. So I was coming to thank you after your vote. So I was waiting for the second comment that this passes. But if you've been, I know Commissioner Pleshnik's been down to the new restaurant down. There's going to be another restaurant down there. We had the boat races this weekend that brought tons of people there between us and Willoughby, and so we're appreciative of just working together to get this done. I think one of the comments that I did have in the News Herald when interviewed is, working together is what the city of Eastlake has been since I've been mayor, and continued working with President Hamercheck throughout, again, the COVID and everything else that we've been doing. So I will also thank you for 7 when it gets to there. Resolution with another more of our water lines, and I know next year I told at the last council meeting last week, I told them to get ready for construction on Vine Street with the $1.2 million project when they start tearing up Vine Street, and hopefully we can correlate that in with the work that I'm doing with Mayor Regovich, Mayor Fiala, Lake Tran for the corridor on Vine. So I'd just like to thank you all for all of that. Thanks.
Well, thank you, sir. And you and your city have been a great partner with the county. You brought those concerns to our attention. We took it very seriously, and our utilities was able to find a way to step up and move this project to the top of the priority list. Gary, did you want to add anything to the discussion, sir?
Yeah, as the mayor said, we look forward to working with the city again on this project and some of the other projects that we've got ongoing. This particular item is just us and utilities setting up our portion of the project that we're going to pay for, getting the funds in place and make sure that we can pay for our bills also. And we'll get this one started in the construction.
Excellent. Further discussion?
Mr. President?
Sir.
I would just say, normally when you sign off on a water line project, you understand the practical importance, but you may not have a great deal of excitement in the act. But for anyone who hasn't visited East Island and Eastlake, it really is an extraordinary little place. It's not quite an island. It is technically connected to the mainland. It would be more accurate to call it a peninsula. But when you're on it, it feels like an island in the middle of the Chagrin River. You get to see the dredging, the boats, the yachts, the canoes going by as you sit and you eat. And it really is a wonderful place at the Chagrin Tavern. So if you haven't had the chance to visit yet, take your time, because you will enjoy it.
Thank you, sir. If there's no further discussion, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik?
Yes.
Commissioner Hamercheck?
Yes.
Resolution increasing appropriations and transferring cash within Lake County Department of Utilities Water Operating Fund and Project Fund 595, 174 and 84 Tank Painting Project 436W.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Gary, you want to give a little background on that?
Sure. Again, this is another project we're setting up for construction. Some of the other projects we talk about are starting the design phase, but this is construction. We've hired the contractor to paint this particular tank, again, north of Willoughby out there, and we'll get that one going. Both projects like this in terms of rotating through our different tanks and making sure those exteriors are painted. And then previously today, we have a roof replacement program. We try to do a couple of those each year within the utilities department.
So this is just the exterior, not the wet interior.
Right.
Thank you, sir. Any further discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik?
Yes.
Commissioner Hamercheck?
Yes.
Resolution transferring appropriations in Lake County Department of Utilities Solid Waste Operating Fund.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik?
Yes.
Commissioner Hamercheck?
Yes.
Resolution increasing appropriations and transferring cash within Lake County Department of Utilities Sewer Operating Fund and Project Fund 596, Lakeshore Trunk Sewer Rehabilitation Phase 1 Project 438S.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Gary, do you want to give some background there, sir?
No problem. So this time we're in wastewater. This is a project on Lakeshore Boulevard near Heisley. Randy had talked, I think, a few meetings back as to where we're lining the trunk sewers, as we call them. These are the main sewers that feed into the GLK Manor wastewater plant. This was the one where we were talking about putting the lining in, and he referred to it as a sock. So again, we've hired the contractor for this one. We're going to break ground and bring that sewer up to grade a little bit in terms of its age and usefulness, and we're ready to go for construction.
Very good. Further discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution approving final estimate number 4, release of retainage in the amount of $6,348 with DB Bentley Incorporated and accepting a 3-year maintenance bond in the amount of $15,815.25 for East 349th Street, Roberts to Beach Park Waterline Replacement Project for 22W for the Lake County Department of Utilities.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution awarding a bid contract in the amount of $1,951,110 to Neroni & Sons for Melridge Adams and Industrial Pump Station Improvements Project 415S for the Lake County Department of Utilities.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Gary, a little background, please.
Yes, so try not to be redundant, but again, wastewater in this one. We're going to be starting construction on this roughly $2 million project. This was a project where we kind of bundled 3 pump stations that, again, pump flow to the main plant. One's in Concord and 2 are in Mentor. And this is going to be a little bit of a difficult project because we're sort of in some neighborhoods on these ones in terms of the construction. But basically, we'll be replacing 3 sanitary pump stations as part of this construction project.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Further discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
In the Commissioner's Office, resolution authorizing the Lake County Land Reutilization Corporation to administer the demolition of the building located at 196 East Jackson Street in Paynesville, Ohio, parcel number 15D413.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Jason, did you want to give some background on that, please?
Yes, thank you, Commissioners. About a month ago, the county identified a parcel that was for sale on Jackson Street. We ultimately, pursuant to this board, purchased the property under the asking price. And the resolution this morning is a 50-50 cost share with the Lake County Land Bank to raise the facility for future uses for the county.
Very good. Further discussion? Thank you, Jason. Okay, with that, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution recommending appointments of 21 members to the Lake County Local Emergency Planning Committee for 2-year terms expiring August 10, 2023.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution amending the fee schedule for the Lake County Building Inspection Department effective January 1st, 2022.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
In the Finance Department, resolution approving payment of bills as listed on the Commissioner's Approval Journal in the amount of $915,202.71.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution approving purchase orders as listed on the Commissioner's Purchase Order Approval Journal in the amount of $534,630.41.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution increasing appropriations for various general and non-general fund accounts.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Resolution transferring cash and appropriations within various general and non-general fund accounts.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Discussion? Sorry, I got myself a little ahead of things there. None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes. All right, this brings us to our departmental reports portion of our meeting. Gary.
Yeah, I've got a couple items today. I'll try to be brief. Since we do spend a lot of time talking about capital projects, I'm going to talk about a couple alternate topics and kind of walk through that a little bit. The first update in terms of wastewater, we have some of our staff traveling to Cincinnati next week to attend the One Water Conference. The One Water Conference is an annual meeting in Ohio, and it involves both drinking water and wastewater facility professionals. We anticipate there's going to be about 1,000 people there attending this, obviously to network, get some education, attend some technical sessions, and just discuss the state of the industry. The reason I'm bringing this up is because our department has won an award that we're going to receive next week at that conference. It's called the Facility Image Award, so that's why we're sending some staff down there to get that. And in summary, this facility award recognizes the enhancements we've done to our wastewater facilities, how we've operated the facilities in general, we've reinvested in the plant, and overall promoted the wastewater profession within the community and how we've outreached to the public. So I just wanted to update on that. The other item relates to H2 Ohio, a little bit of discussion and update on H2 Ohio. If you're not familiar with H2 Ohio, it's an initiative that was launched by Governor DeWine. I think that was around 2019. The focus is basically on a couple items here: water quality, harmful algal blooms, and basically improvements in water and wastewater infrastructure, and lastly, the lead service replacement lines that have been in the news recently. Looking at the group and the partnership, it seems like there's a variety and diverse committee there. Includes some agricultural folks, environmental agencies, and some businesses. The reason I'm bringing this up is that they're having a meeting on July 28th. It's going to be virtual, where they're basically going to talk about how they intend to spend the funds for fiscal year 2022. So there's going to be representatives from the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, the Department of Agriculture, the EPA, and some of the folks from Ohio Lake Erie. They had requested, again, they being H2 Ohio, they requested the neighborhood of $240 million in funding. So basically this meeting at the end of July is for them to sort of discuss what they intend to do and what their initiatives may be in the upcoming year. So we'll try to participate in that and see what H2 Ohio has to say. Thank you.
Excellent. Anything else for Gary? Very good. Thank you, sir. Good report. Job and Family Services, Suzanne.
That's a tough act to follow.
Indeed, indeed. But your smile is much brighter than his, so, you know. There we go. Now we got him laughing. There we go. He's a tough one to get the laugh.
I wanted to share this morning that our staff are gearing up for the Lake County Fair next week. I know we heard about the fair earlier today from our 4-H members. Job and Family Services will have a tent on the main strip of the fair. Our staff will be there all week to raise awareness about Job and Family Services, what we provide at Job and Family Services, and assist members of the public if they have questions. We'll also have giveaways for the kiddos who are enjoying the fair. Job and Family Services does sponsor Kids Day at the fair, which will be next Thursday. We will also have workers present for Senior Day at the fair, which is next Friday, to again raise awareness about Job and Family Services and what we can provide for members of the community.
Great report, and we truly appreciate your support of the fair, and it's an excellent venue. So again, thank you for the outreach. Always a good thing.
Thank you.
Anything for Suzanne? Ma'am, thank you. Moving on to our County Administrator, Jason Boyd.
Thank you, Commissioners. I just want to say it's nice seeing Mr. Music. It's been a while. I was out the past couple weeks. I always enjoy talking to you, so welcome back. Just a couple quick updates. Final Treasury guidance on the American Rescue Plan, Recovery Plan. The comment period concluded on July 16th, so late last week. As the Commissioners know, we are hoping that the guardrails are widened for a variety of different projects, not only here in Lake County, but I know some communities here, some colleagues in Ohio, capital construction, economic development loans. They're pretty tight right now, and speaking specifically to Lake County, we would be well served if we had a little leeway there. So hopefully we see some good news over the next couple weeks. Staff, myself, Mike, Dave Hackman, the auditors, we are beginning to compile various projects that either we hear from communities, some information that the commissioners have talked about, and then I'm starting a spreadsheet so we can start to really get in depth on what's eligible, what's the cost, and so on. As everyone knows, Lake County is going to get a little bit north of $44 million from the ARP, which need to be obligated by December of 2024, expensed by December of 2026. So we do have a little bit of time on our hand, but I know we are anxious to do a few projects here in the near term. Secondly, I will be to that topic. I've been invited next 2 weeks, CCO, a small group of administrators throughout Ohio, just to really talk about the ARP. And is there consensus? Is there some consensus in interpretation of the rules that we may be in the gray, but there's a legal opinion or something from another county that I can get to our prosecutors to save them some of the legwork? So I'll be down there. I think it's August the 4th, a half-a-day session facilitated by John Lights from CCAO, just really getting into the weeds on those topics and whatever else CCAO wants to bring. So I'll be able to report back mid-August on what I hear there. And just a brief update. As most folks know, Lake County, for the better part of 3 to 4 years, have been involved in the opiate litigation. A lot of thanks to dozens and dozens of county employees or partners who have, had to spend a lot of time with legal. And there's a news broke yesterday. Attorney General Yost, regarding a One Ohio settlement that Lake County may be a part of. Commissioner Hammercheck and I will be attending a meeting tomorrow to get the ins and outs of that. And then subsequently, Lake and Trumbull counties are in a bellwether trial that is tentatively scheduled for this fall. So we are still pursuing any and all relief we can get to our Lake County citizens, families who've been impacted by the national crisis. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anything for Administrator? Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Madam Clerk.
Yes, I just want to mention the next Commissioners meeting is going to be Thursday, July 29th at 10 o'clock a.m. And on that agenda, we will have the schedule for the next 2 or 3 months. So, I want to mention that.
Very good. Thank you, ma'am. Anything for our clerk? Okay, moving on. Legal.
No report, Commissioner.
Thank you, sir. All right, this brings us to our old business portion of our meeting. Do we have any old business to come before the board? Well, I'm going to throw one out. We brought it up at our last meeting. Commissioner Plechnik, you were down at Ohio State with our friend Morgan McIntosh, Concord Township trustee. I believe the title of the program was something about Rising Stars. Could you give us a little background and not only tell us how you did, but tell us how Morgan did. Come on, let's get a little inside baseball going on here.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Just by way of background, the Ohio General Assembly in 2018, I wouldn't be surprised if Commissioner, then State Rep Ron Young voted for it, created a program with Ohio State, which is an Ohio leadership program that sponsors the Ohio Public Leadership Academy once a year at the John Glenn College of Public Affairs, bringing together a cohort, half Republican, half Democrat. There was actually one independent. There was one mayor from Elyria who was an independent, so he was the one in the middle. We might have an independent mayor here today, Mayor Morley. So there's always one independent to essentially engage in various forms of leadership training, exercises, to tour state facilities and get to know various leaders in Ohio as well. Some highlights from the program that I was able to share with Trustee McIntosh was getting to visit the Ohio Emergency Operations Center, learn about how they interact with Lake County's EMA for various crises, whether it be COVID-19 or a possible a possible nuclear event at Perry. Fortunately, we've never had such an event, but it's good to know that the state and county are always watchful and prepared, which is why we don't have such crises, because people do take their responsibilities very seriously here in the county, and we work hard with the state as well. We had the opportunity to hear from one of the top leaders in the state on human trafficking and its prevention. We had the opportunity to talk to the former head of the Ohio National Guard and do crisis management exercises with him. So there's a lot to unpack, but the bottom line is the goal of the program was to bring together a diverse group of elected officials and to try to learn from each other, network with each other. And I think we walked away, Morgan and I, with a lot of new friendships and connections. The incoming president of CCAO and the assistant director of CCAO were also there. They offered a board appointment to me were I to take it. So I think from the county commissioner's perspective, I was able to do some valuable networking there. And it really was an honor to be nominated along with Trustee Morgan McIntosh to represent Lake County for a week-long program where we stood back to learn.
Now, my understanding was Lake County was the only county that had 2 representatives. Is that also your understanding?
Well, I'll admit I'm not sure where all the townships and cities were located. It could be hard to coordinate, but I wasn't aware of another.
Very good, very good. Exciting times. Commissioner Young, anything you want to add to that?
I think we have a rising star in our midst.
There you go, there you go. Very good. Under old business, we did have some correspondence with our colleagues from Paynesville Township. We're still discussing the contract with our sheriff. Looks like we've got some positive movement on that. I believe that we're finally coming to the agreement that yes, the townships need additional coverage for law enforcement, and that there is a distinct difference between the sheriff's office and contracts to perform police functions. So it sounds like we're making some progress. I understand that our colleagues from Paynesville Township will be submitting something in writing to us to give us something to talk about. Hopefully they can join us at one of these meetings so we can discuss this in a public venue, get this finally resolved. And again, I want to thank Faith Andrews, our clerk of courts, her generosity and responsiveness when I went to her and said, hey, we need some help. She didn't shrink from it. The idea of funding our police operations and making sure that we have proper protection and safety for our citizens was right there in the forefront, and she's a true servant of the people. And I can't thank her enough for the efforts and being so open-minded to the possibility of creating a grant program. So I feel very strongly we need to get that out there. Also on the jail, I would like to have Paul Stefanko from our telecommunications and Mark Iafalise from our buildings and grounds come and present to the board regarding the building itself, its systems, the maintenance procedures and protocols. I think our friends from the state were very clear when they referred to them as our on-staff subject matter experts. That was valuable, and I think we need to hear from them in the interest of the community becoming fully informed as to the condition of the jail and how we respond to ongoing maintenance and other concerns. So I think Paul Stefanko and Mark Iafalise would be excellent additions to have here at our next meeting. So is there any other old business? All right.
Mr. President, I think we'd be remiss, in addition to thanking our Clerk of Courts, Faith Andrews, if we didn't acknowledge the hard work of our County Prosecutor's Office in drafting the grant program, the legal documents. I think this is really a model for other counties, and in particular, I know that our County Prosecutor, Chuck Colson, lent a lot of time to us with our assistant prosecutors, Dave Hackman and Mike DeLeon, who's with us today. So we thank you for working so closely with the commissioners and the townships to really put together a remarkable program that'll serve as a bridge to the future to increase safety now.
Fair enough, and we'd also be remiss if we didn't mention Nina Germano. I know she was a key player in all of this, and the reason we keep talking about Paynesville Township so much is they are the pilot. We're trying to get this worked out with them because they're under current negotiations with the sheriff for policing activities. We are looking to the other townships, and we just need to get it right. We'll get one bite at this apple, and We're starting with Paynesville Township because they are the ones who are currently in active negotiations with the sheriffs and this board. So if there's nothing further under old business, we'll move on to new business. Do we have any new business to come before this board? Any new business? Oh, Sheriff.
Just.
Of course, smarty pants. There you go. We have a sheriff with a sense of humor who raises his hand. Goodness gracious. All right, so there does not appear to be any new business. Do we have anyone at this time who wishes to address this board in the second public comment portion? Mayor Morley, did you want to add anything, sir, now that we've affirmatively moved forward?
I was asking the sheriff how I can become a township and I don't have to pay for police officers. Especially in the townships that they're in the city.
Mr. President?
I'm still trying to collect myself. That was actually downright funny. Yes, sir.
Let the record reflect that Mayor Morley wishes to know from the sheriff how he can recategorize Eastlake as a township so that he no longer needs to pay for his police department. But in fairness, though, we should acknowledge that Madison Township does have its own police department, and there are many different models for townships and municipalities to approach their policing needs. What it comes down to is whether you call it a sheriff's deputy, whether you call the officer on the ground a police officer, it really is the same issue. Every community needs to maintain a sufficient budget for safety for their police and their firefighters. As a councilman, I always said roads, police, and fire. Roads, police, and fire. Roads, police, and fire. I was a broken record because those are the three most important functions of any municipality, whether they're a city, a village, or a township. And we absolutely want to help our townships because we recognize that it's a struggle to come up with that funding. You know, good policing, safety forces, they're not cheap. The reality of it is it's a competitive labor market. We've seen that firsthand. There's a for hire sign at every single business at every level. And to have people what we're comfortable with who are in that stressful, difficult role as a police officer or sheriff's deputy, we need to compensate them fairly. So it is not a free service, and it's a challenge for every city, village, and township to pay for it. But we can't reasonably look to Paynesville Township to pay for our police in Willoughby Hills, nor can the folks in Perry Township look to Willowick and say, foot my bill. So it's a challenge, and we want to help, which is exactly why I'm so impressed with the legal work from our county prosecutor's office with the incredible fiscal responsibility of our clerk of courts. When have you heard of an elected official giving money back? It really is remarkable that we're able to find the money for this 4-year grant program. I wish it's something we could extend to cities and villages as well, but the reason why the Board of Commissioners are giving this special aid to the townships is that they've been historically under-policed. And now that we're seeing increasing crime in the townships, with tragedies like the Lake County Dine and Dance shooting from the wee early morning hours of July 5th, we have an obligation to step up and take extraordinary efforts, and that's what we're doing. And I'm very hopeful that working with our sheriff, the township trustees will be able to make those difficult choices to keep their community safe. And the county has really stood tall, in particular from the clerk of courts, in giving that extraordinary aid. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to keep things in context, I apologize for my moment of reacting to our dear friends on the back row there, but sometimes we can be a little lighthearted, but these are very serious subjects. And yes, Mayor.
So I just wanted to, there's no misunderstanding. Obviously, I understand this.
And there was no disrespect intended. We're taking this very seriously. And just to keep the timeline while the mayor is coming up to the microphone, this grant program has been being worked on before the incident at the shooting incident at Dine and Dance there. So just wanted to.
So there's no misunderstanding. I was obviously kidding with the sheriff. Yes. I obviously understand the township's issues with not getting the 2% and that. So I apologize if it came out wrong. Obviously, obviously, Commissioner Hammercheck and I have a unique banter between each other. So should have never called me out. So, but all good. No, nice. So I mean, obviously, we do all take this very serious, and sometimes as elected officials, people don't see that we need levity amongst ourselves. and we try to have some humor amongst ourselves. So again, no disrespect to any of the townships. I know how hard that is.
No, indeed. And that goes hand in glove with our concerns about even the retention issue.
Absolutely.
We have deputies, we're taking this very seriously about safety to the community, but we also have an officer safety issue. And these deputies, their backup, if it doesn't get addressed and get addressed soon, we're going to start losing deputies because they're going to go to communities where they have adequate backup, where they have adequate policing. Yep. And there is a distinct difference between police functions and the sheriff's department.
Absolutely. Yeah, and the sheriff and I talked about, especially the Paynesville incident, that could have been a very national news problem if something would have went wrong. So appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And again, there was no disrespect intended there, ladies and gentlemen. It was just, these are very difficult subjects. And, okay, enough being folksy. So, moving on, do we have any other new business? Okay, then, I think, do we move into the second public comment section? Jason, do we have nothing? No one in the audience? Praise the Lord. Okay, well, this brings us to the conclusion of our meeting. I will entertain a motion to adjourn same.
So moved.
Wow, that's enthusiastic. Jennifer, you can decide if that was a photo finish or what.
I'll second it.
Further, any discussion? None being heard. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik?
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck?
Yes, thank you. This meeting stands adjourned. Thank you for joining us today.